What's up, everybody? My name is Adam, and I'm so excited because we're kicking off a brand new series today, and it's called Everyday. This series is going to be all about how we can challenge ourselves to make our faith a part of our everyday lives. What does that mean, though? Well, think with me for a second about all the things you do every day. It could be eating dinner, texting your friends, playing video games, brushing your teeth, I hope, taking the trash out when you're supposed to, using the skibbity toilet. We've all got some everyday things. They are our daily routines. When I was in 8th grade, one of my everyday things was dribbling my basketball. I would go to my basement, and every day I would dribble for at least 10 minutes. That was just an everyday thing for me when I was in middle school. And guys, after doing this for a while, dribbling became second nature to me. I did it so long that I didn't even have to think about it anymore. Everyday things define who we become. And here's why this matters. At Collide, we want to get better at connecting with God, and we want to get better at following Jesus. So for the next couple of weeks, we're going to talk about how we can make everyday habits, like dribbling a basketball, so much a part of our lives that following Jesus and connecting with God just comes naturally to us. But pause for a second because we got to define the terms. What does it mean to connect with God? Well, like connecting with any friend or family member, the key to connecting with God is just spending time and talking together. If I want to connect with a friend or a teammate, I got to talk with them. And it's the same thing with God. Whether you grew up in church or started coming recently, or maybe you're here today for the very first time, we've all got a next step in our faith. And probably there's a good chance that we all have some questions. Questions like, what does it really mean to connect with God? Or maybe, why should I even want to connect with God? Or what will connecting with God really do for me right now? If you're asking any of those questions, I am so glad that you're here because we're gonna get into that today. And one of the best ways for us to begin to do this is to look at Jesus himself, who was God in a human body. And Jesus explained what this connection looks like for us in a conversation that he had with his disciples. You see, the disciples were just Jesus' closest followers who spent years learning from him. And in their time together, Jesus constantly was dropping dimes and nuggets of wisdom on them. And one of those disciples, his name was John, he wrote down some of the details of Jesus' life and some of the things that he learned from Jesus. In one of the accounts that he wrote down, John remembers that the disciples were anxious. Has anyone ever been anxious before?
Me!
Well, they were. Jesus' boys were anxious because he kept saying that he was gonna go away and that they couldn't go with him where he was going to go. So not only are they worried because their friend and their leader might be leaving, but they're also stressing out about what would happen to them if he left. But then Jesus told the disciples something that would help them so much in the future. Let's take a look together. John 15:5. It says this in John 15:5. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Now, as we look at that, vines and branches, maybe we feel confused because we're thinking, why is Jesus talking about what my grandma does in her spare time? Let me explain. Jesus was an expert at using regular, everyday examples to teach powerful lessons. And the vines and the branches were relevant to his disciples because these guys were walking around vineyards all the time. It's even likely that Jesus could have been walking through a vineyard when he said these things to the disciples. So, what does Jesus mean? Well, branches need a vine to live. A vine is the foundation. It's the source of life. In order to survive and thrive, the branches have to stay connected to the vine. In this passage, Jesus calls himself the vine. When we remain in him, we stay connected to him. In the same way that a branch needs to stay connected to the vine to produce fruit, if we want to grow in our faith, we've got to get closer to God. We need to stay connected to Jesus every day. If you want to have a healthy plant with leaves and flowers that are alive, everything's got to be connected to the source of life for it to grow. Jesus wants us to produce fruit. By the way, the fruit that he's talking about is love for God and love for others. But to do that, to have the fruit, we've got to be connected to the source of life. And if we're not, well, if we're disconnected from the source of life, over time, we stop producing fruit and loving other people. And eventually, like a plant disconnected from the vine, we die. What is this source of life for us? For us, it's Jesus. Just like a branch needs to be connected to the vine to survive, you and I need to be connected to Jesus to have the life that we've been created to have. We need to be connected to Jesus to live and not die. And when Jesus paid our penalty, died on the cross, rose from the dead, he made the way for us to be directly connected to God every day. Not only that, but his very Spirit is still with us. And if we stay connected with God, our lives will show it. Our relationships, our attitudes, our choices, our words, all of it will be better because we're connected to God. Here's what I want you to know and remember. You can connect with God every day. And when you do, you'll have a better understanding of God's goodness, love, compassion, and his perfect plan for your life. You'll see your faith grow into a real, thriving, everyday kind of faith. 2 ways we can make connecting with God an everyday thing. First one, identify ways to spend time with God. That might mean making time to read your Bible or spending time in prayer. It could be thinking about God while you're spending time in nature, around plants and animals. It could be listening to or singing along with songs of worship, or maybe it's just writing down some thoughts or reflections about God in your journal. There's so many ways we can connect with God. You just gotta find your ways and then start doing it this week. Second one, connect with God every day. And I do mean every day, no matter how you feel. To become a great dribbler or a great friend, you don't just dribble or talk when you feel like it. You do it even when you don't feel like it, especially when you don't. Everyday faith comes from everyday habits. The best relationships in your life didn't become great after one conversation, one hangout, or one experience. No, they grew over time. You had to keep showing up, keep talking, keep spending time together. And the same is true with God. Make your faith a priority every day. Stay connected with God this week and in the weeks ahead. Remember, we can connect with God every day. The more you do it, the better it gets. And if you're not sure where to start, today, talk to your group leader, talk to your guardian, talk to your friends at small group. We have small groups here at Collide that we can talk to about faith and the things that are happening in our lives. Why not try that today? By talking and connecting with God and what that means to you. When you go to groups, I want you to think about this one question. What's one way you can connect with God today?